I desired dragons with a profound desire. Of course, I, in my timid body, did not wish to have them in the neighborhood. But the world that contained even the imagination of Fafnir was richer and more beautiful, at whatever the cost of peril. J.R.R. Tolkien.
Nearly every culture has its own dragon legend. They are a universal archetype that pervade every mythology. Humans have been fascinated with dragons since their conception. To us, they resemble power, either terrible or benevolent. And in every story, even in modern tales, they often represent the ultimate beast that a hero has to overcome. Dragons come in many shapes and sizes, from snake-like sea monsters to fire-breathing dinosaurs, but are all equally terrifying and enchanting. Tonight, we don our most fireproof armor and ready our bestiary as we delve deep into the lair of the dragon on this legendary episode of Snipe Hunt.
Bring us in.
Hello! You are listening to the one and only Snipe Hunt, your frightening folklore podcast. I am one of your hosts, Gary Clevenstein.
And I am your other host, Darren Young. And this is definitely not our second take, because I messed with the setting, and we missed like 6 minutes of recording.
We can get it.
It's just our first take. But once again, we have a guest on with us today, my friend, the illustrious Cameron Wright. Cameron, welcome to the show. It's good to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
And my God, you look dashingly handsome.
Oh my God.
I appreciate
in his
that.
business attire.
I am a serious man.
Fresh back from an interview.
Yes.
A new job, and that's exciting. So
Making that money.
absolutely. It's good to have you on.
Thank you very much.
Y'all. Can you play that horn? Oh, man. Tonight's episode is about dragons. Well, actually, dragons is an extremely broad subject, so we sort of narrowed it down to types of dragons. Tonight's game is to take a drink every time you hear the word dragon in this episode.
Yeah, but definitely, preferably something with not much alcohol content, because we don't want to be responsible for any hospital visits.
You'd be on the floor.
I'm drinking sweet tea.
And,
Milo sweet tea.
Yeah, that I provided for you
Thank you.
at my own
It is
cost.
delicious.
But speaking of which, tonight's episode is appropriately brought to you by D&D Adventures for Kids. Cameron, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. So I'm the content creator and owner for D&D adventuresforkids.com. Essentially what I do is I create kid-friendly content such as written adventures, pre-made characters. I have articles on how Dungeons & Dragons helps kids, because role-playing games actually helps kids develop emotionally and socially. But yeah, that site, dndadventuresforkids.com, has all kinds of free resources on there. Right now, there's, I want to say, around 150 pages of written adventures on there for anyone to use. So you just click on the red links, and yeah, you can start playing right away.
Yeah, and you make the adventures yourself, and you work with other people on it?
Yeah, that's correct. We have some artists and illustrators that are working with us. We've only been around for a couple months, but it's been really positive, all the feedback we've been getting. So, but yeah, I write all the adventures on there. I wrote myself. I'm starting to illustrate my own encounter maps for the game. For those of you that haven't played Dungeons & Dragons before or don't know what it is, it's a tabletop role-playing game, and it's involved in a fantasy setting, and dragons are obviously a big part of that.
Obviously. It's in the name.
Yeah. But yeah, there's I write these free resources that benefit right now thousands of people over 50 different countries, and if you know anyone that could benefit, let them know about us.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a Facebook page too, correct?
Yeah, the Facebook group is just called D&D, so D, the letter N, D, Adventures for Kids on Facebook. There's almost 1,000 like-minded adults and leaders from around the world that run games for kids, and that's a safe place to exchange ideas and talk about how the game benefits kids.
Yeah, so if you ever like had even the passing thought of getting into D&D, I can attest to you. I play D&D myself. It's super fun, and now I think it's coming back into the zeitgeist more and more with shows like Stranger Things and
For
stuff
sure.
like that. So there's never been a better time to get into it. I actually play D&D myself with Cameron. He actually runs one of the games, and I can attest to you that his adventures are awesome.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we do have a fun time, and yeah, if you've never played before, like I said, check it out. I mean, it's becoming a lot more popular these days.
I do. I have a question. Since I don't play much, but is your site going to have like access to the strategy guides and stuff like that, like the books, like?
So the books all need to be purchased kind of separately. I recommend purchasing them from your local game store. But you basically, what you do is you use these guides which outline the rules for the game, and then you can use like My Adventures to actually run the story.
Well, the reason I was curious because when I did play, I don't remember what website. Do you guys know?
Well, you're not.
You know what website I'm?
The materials need to be purchased because otherwise it's basically pirating if we're just offering.
No, but I mean, there's a website that people use for D&D. I can't remember what's it called.
There's DM's Guild, and there's also D&D Beyond, which are some popular ones.
I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
It was kind of like you could have like a chat room. You have a chat room. You could play it basically. Play D&D online without being
that is a popular platform to play D&D, like especially for those that can't meet in person. A lot of people will play online, but you still need to purchase the written books that outline how to play the game.
Yes.
Okay. Gentlemen, I hate to inform you, but we have no new reviews.
But on the bright side, we're still recording,
Yes.
and it's actually
And
picking
we are
up our
still-
voices.
That
Thank God.
makes everything so much better. If you haven't left a review, now would be a fantastic time to do it. These reviews help us move on up on the charts on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. So the more reviews, the better. You can also go to the Facebook page and leave a recommendation. If you've left a review or a comment on a different platform, just let us know and we'll read it on air and give you a big, fat, sexy thank you.
Absolutely, and I would like to point out that we still have a solid 5-star review on iTunes right now.
Heck yeah.
Despite that random 1-star review that we have no idea why.
It did make it a 4.5? I thought it made
It did for a while, but then we got enough reviews to cancel it out.
Nice.
So,
Haters gonna hate.
so keep giving us 5-star reviews so we can keep that one person who gave us a 1-star down. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. With this episode, we are going to do a super brief history of dragons, like insanely brief because, like I said, it's a huge subject. And then start listing and discussing the types of dragons that exist in folklore, starting with the most familiar to the most strange. We will be avoiding individual dragon deities as they are unique, and we're more looking into the variations of dragon species. So basically, if there's like a dragon deity, like whatever that Norse one is, Jormungandr, the world serpent.
Jormungandr. The famous Norse deity.
So we're not, but he's like a unique dragon, so we're not going to include him. We're just going to do it. But if there's multiple of one type of dragon, we're going to do that. And although we might mention those dragon deities as an example of a certain dragon variation, although I'm sure everyone listening knows what a dragon is, let's still provide a definition. What is a dragon, Cameron?
Merriam-Webster defines it as a huge serpent, a mythical animal usually represented as a monstrous, winged, and scaly serpent, or saurian with a crested head and enormous claws. Wikipedia defines it as a dragon is a large serpent-like legendary creature that appears in the folklore of many cultures around the world. Beliefs about dragons vary drastically by region, but dragons in Western cultures, since the High Middle Ages, have often been depicted as dinosaur-like, with wings, horns, 4 legs, and capable of breathing fire. Dragons in Eastern cultures are usually depicted as serpent-like, wingless, 4-legged, serpentine creatures with above-average intelligence. There are many proposed origins for the dragon myth. Snakes and dragons are often used interchangeably in mythology, pointing to serpents being a potential origin. Dinosaur bones have also contributed to the legend. Chang Chu, a Chinese historian from the 4th century BC, labeled the fossil of a stegosaurus as dragon remains. Other large reptiles, such as the Nile crocodile and monitor lizards, may have inspired dragon myths within and around their native regions.
Little Side note, Cameron actually lived in China for a little bit and taught English there. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad jealous. I had him read the Chinese name because I'm sure.
I was saying because he did not even pause
on
Chang Chu or whatever his name was.
I hope I got that right.
Yeah. It sounds right to me.
It sounded legit. I was like, damn.
Just go in with confidence and just
Yeah, as long as you just breeze through it like you know what you're doing, no one will call it.
There's a lot of dragon symbolism there, though, as you can imagine.
Oh, absolutely. One fringe theory I found is that the origin of the dragon came from sightings of living dinosaurs by humans, the pterosaur up in the sky, and the ichthyosaur down in the sea. So obviously a pterosaur is a pterodactyl. So that kind of provides the flying lizard kind of thing.
Yeah, they look very much like dragons.
And then sea monsters being the ichthyosaur. It's kind of like, it's the long-necked one with the body and flippers, like Loch Ness Monster-ish. So those, that was one theory I found, obviously. Highly unlikely it's true, but you never know. Anthropologist David E. Jones has a very interesting argument on the origin of the myth in his book, An Instinct for Dragons. He argues that the legends came from our innate fears. Primates have an instinctual fear of threats, such as snakes, spiders, and large cats. Jones argues that the human psyche has combined the greatest predatory threats to ancient primates: big cats, birds of prey, and snakes. And these created the dragon mythos. I had my doubts on this theory at first, but upon further research into the different variations of dragons, there might actually be something to this. So basically, he's saying that dragons are a combination of the big cats, hence the four-legged body and claws, birds of prey, hence the wings, and then snakes, obviously scaly skin, long neck, serpentine tail and body.
I wonder where their fire breathing comes from.
Yeah.
Also big cats. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. What they do in the night, we'll never know.
But this explanation definitely doesn't count for all cultures. But all dragons are clearly inspired by humankind's fascination with serpents. More than likely, the dragon is a combination of all these potential origins, viewed through the cultural lens of different people groups. Kind of like how the Wikipedia definition of the dragon said it would vary by culture. And there's a good reason for that. On this note, let's go ahead and mention a dragon that I think best meets this theory. Dragon? Your name is Dragon.
Yeah.
Okay.
We shall call him.
That's funny.
Dragon.
My name in Chinese, like Da Long, actually translates to big dragon.
Yeah, Long. Long is Chinese for dragon. Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's what they called me over there because this is kind of hard to pronounce, like my English name for some of them. So
They just call you Dragon.
they called me Da Long.
That's
Call
funny.
me
They
Big
called
Dragon.
me. They called me Big Dong over in Australia.
You must call me Big Dragon. You must call me Nighthawk.
Nighthawk, yeah.
All right, so Cameron or Dragon, Big Dragon, would you like to do us the honor of starting us off?
Yeah, so the Mushusu is a chimera from ancient Mesopotamia with the talons of an eagle, the body and legs of a big cat but covered in scales, a long neck and tail, and a horned head. The name Mushusu can translate to either reddish snake, fierce snake, or splendor serpent. Some believe that this myth was based on a real animal called the Civatherium, which was a moose-like giraffe that went extinct 8,000 years ago.
Wait a minute, Darren. Hold on. I told you when we started this podcast that we were never to have somebody who could read perfectly on this.
Well, we already...
He has not screwed up one damn time, and I'm getting so insecure right
We
now.
had Susan first.
Yeah, that's right. We did have
We
Susan.
did have
She was
Susan,
pretty-
and now we have...
I wasn't as impressed with Susan, though.
But, excellent job.
I appreciate the
Cameron.
compliment.
Yeah.
Excellent job. As an editor of the podcast, I really appreciate...
Yeah, really?
Thank you.
So Cameron asked for pictures of all these dragons as we're going through them, so I went a little extra and created a slideshow. So if you refer to the TV screen, here is the Mushusu, as depicted in ancient Mesopotamia.
It's not as tall as I would have thought.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more serpent-like. As you can see right here, there's a mural. That's a mural that was based off a mural that was found in ancient Mesopotamia that depicts the creature.
It almost looks like a unicorn cat creature in the Mesopotamian image.
Yeah.
Like there's that horn on the front there.
It's got that horn right there, but as you can see, it's got the scales throughout as well.
Right.
It's almost like they they started it walking
I'm
to the
sure
right.
Us discussing the
and then-
picture is
yeah.
great for the
Yeah, I know.
listeners who can't see the picture.
We're gonna post these pictures up on
Yes.
our social medias.
Sure.
Yeah, just Google Mushusu. I mean, these are probably some of the first images that pop up, and you'll see what we're talking about too.
So this is very much meets the big cat and snake in this hybrid creature.
I can see it now.
But but as you can see, it has no wings, so we're missing the bird part. But there are other myths of giant birds that are common all over the world, such as the roc, just ROC, the Simurgh, and of course the Native American thunderbird.
I honestly thought that all dragons had wings. Because I'm pretty sure, like in How to Train Your Dragon, they're all winged, aren't
well,
they?
we're
They
going
all
to go
got
over
wings.
lots of types.
Yeah,
of
I think in that
dragons.
movie they're
They're like all wings.
Yeah,
All right.
You'll find out just how many don't have wings.
All right.
Why don't you start us off with the actual first variation?
Now that I'm all nervous. Gotta
Now, do you
follow.
pronounce it wyvern or wyvern? I'm just curious what you personally pronounce it as.
Well, that's what I was gonna. I'm glad.
pretty sure it's
I'm glad
wyvern.
you asked
I
me
think
that
it's-
now,
I
but
think it's wyvern.
instead of letting me
Are you-
stumble
is it?
upon it when I got to it.
I have no idea, but that's how I pronounce it.
People pronounce it both ways. I don't know. I've always
I've heard
pronounced
both
it wyvern.
ways.
I'm just
I
glad
don't
he
know.
mentioned it now instead of letting me trip and fall
That's
over
true.
it, which I was gonna do
So now
anyway.
you get to pick before you talk about it.
All right.
I'll go wyvern. I don't care.
I think it sounds cooler. Maybe that's why I like it.
The most common fire-breathing European dragon with 4 legs, 2 wings, and a tail.
Wait, yeah, you missed a word there.
Foregoing. Yeah, I left that out on purpose. Did I
You
need to say it?
foregoed the word foregoing.
Do I need to? Did I need to mention it? Okay. Foregoing, the most common fire-breathing European dragon with 4 legs, 2 wings, and a tail. Let's move on to one of the more common depictions of dragons, the wyvern.
Yeah.
I would have said wyvern.
I'm
It just sounds
sure
easier.
People
Wyvern.
People get like really.
That's what I say. I don't know.
People
Yeah,
get
wyvern-
like really intense about dragon stuff, so I'm sure we're gonna get an email saying it's actually a wyvern.
Hey,
Actually,
after
wyvern-
leaving that review, why don't you say what the correct pronunciation
Yeah,
is?
but as long as it's not a low review.
Actually, I think wyvern.
Actually, it's wyvern.
No, do the 5-star first.
Yeah, 5-star.
I'm going to say wyvern. It seems much easier to
Okay.
say. A wyvern is a dragon with 2 legs and wings with a long barbed tail, and they are often depicted as spewing poison or even frost from their mouths rather than fire. Wyverns are an important symbol in heraldry. Side note, heraldry is the system by which coats of arms and other armorial bearings are devised, described, and regulated. Many people who are passionate about the subject will argue that wyverns are not dragons, but they are their own distinct creature. But the fact is that in most cultures, a wyvern is a type of dragon, and the terms are often used interchangeably. This distinction is only made in heraldry.
People, like I said, people are passionate about their dragon stuff, and as you can see here on the slideshow, there's our depiction. Of
Oh,
wyverns.
the wyvern is actually that's the D&D dragon, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's the D&D dragon. Well, that's the D&D wyvern right there. That right there.
Yeah,
is-
wyverns are definitely in
That's
D&D.
the one from Skyrim. So if you ever played Skyrim,
Oh, that's Skyrim.
if you ever
That's
played
right.
Skyrim, literally every dragon in there is a wyvern.
Okay.
I actually did get in an argument on iFunny about the distinction between an actual. He's like, wyverns are not dragons. I was like, literally, if you Google wyvern, the first thing pops up is type of dragon. But yeah, in heraldry, as you can see right there, there's a little coat of arms saying that's the flag of Wessex, which is in England. The wyvern in heraldry is its own distinct creature, and we'll talk about that little pathetic wyvern down there.
I was going to say that bottom right looks stupid.
I think even in Game of Thrones, the like quote unquote dragon is a wyvern.
Yeah, yeah, two wings, 2 legs, and
I mean, it looks just like it anyway.
Yeah.
That one would be
they're basically, like I said, they're just types of dragons and often used interchangeably.
that one would be front heavy. His front half would be like dangling.
Oh, are we going to logic police mythological
sorry.
creatures?
An honorable mention is a
French, sorry.
French. I was like, freck.
I frecked that up.
An honorable mention is a French wyvern called a guiver. These wyverns are very aggressive, but are afraid of naked humans. So I don't have to worry about one breaking into my
if you ever
home.
encounter Gwyver, just strip.
Just strip. If it sees someone naked, it will blush and turn away.
Yeah, it's very. You would just embarrass it, basically. And that's what the little pathetic thing in the corner is being. You can't see the angels because I caught them out, but he's being stabbed in the face
there's
by
naked
angels.
angels. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right. Another honorable mention is the drake. Not the rapper. But it's
Maybe.
just another term for dragon, although in modern fantasy, a drake is a dragon with 4 legs and no wings.
So the Mashusu we talked about earlier with 4 legs, that's an example of what we refer to in modern fantasy as a drake. But back in the day, drake just meant dragon.
I wonder if
it's
Drake,
interesting.
I wonder if the rapper actually knows this.
Someone's probably told him
Or
once
Drake
or twice.
yeah,
Drake
Drake
Bell.
Bell,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So next up is the lindworm. The term lindworm comes from the Norwegian lindworm serpent and the German lindworm snake dragon. This variation is often described as a long serpent with a horse-shaped head, 2 arms, no wings, and a venomous bite. In Norse mythology, Odin paid a dwarf named Hrathmir in gold and as compensation for the loss of one of his sons. His other son, Fafnir, killed his father in order to obtain this gold. Odin, however, had put a curse on the gold. The greedy Fafnir was transformed into a lindworm and jealously guarded his gold hoard until he was slain by the Norse hero Sigurd.
So that sounds like a D&D campaign right there.
Oh,
A
yeah.
dwarf stealing gold and gets turned into a dragon.
Oh, I'm definitely writing something based off that.
Did you ever
line.
play that old school video game, Axe, Golden Axe? The little dwarves with the gold running around.
That's so funny. Was that like one of the really like the arcade?
Yeah.
I was just at Arcadia and I
Oh,
played.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you play it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
played
I
that
know what you're
today.
talking about now.
Yeah.
But actually,
so funny.
this myth is one of the origins for dragons getting the temperament of hoarding gold and being greedy creatures. This is one of the origins for that. So
Gotcha.
That's so funny. Yeah. But yeah, a lindworm is sometimes described as having no arms, making it even more serpent-like. A variation of dragon that also matches this description is simply referred to as a worm. The most famous legend involving this dragon is the story of the Lambton worm.
oh boy, guys, it's story time.
It's story time.
Cue the music.
The story goes that John Lambton, heir to an estate in County Durham in England, skipped church to go fishing. On his way, John is warned by an old man that no good can come from skipping church. John eventually catches a small eel-like creature with a salamander-like head with 9 holes. John brags that he caught the devil himself and discards the creature down a well. John soon forgets about the creature and joins the Crusades, and in his absence, the creature grows larger over the years, and the well becomes poisoned. Villagers notice that livestock keep going missing, and soon the gigantic serpent emerges from the well and coils itself around a nearby hill. The worm is so large, it can wrap its enormous body around the hill 7 times. The worm proceeds to terrorize nearby villages, eating sheep, abducting children, and most vile of all, preventing cows from producing milk.
Wait a minute. Wait, most vile of all.
Yeah.
But
After
I want my
abducting
chocolate milk.
Obviously,
You can take the children, but damn it, don't
cannot
mess
take my milk.
with the milk.
I come home from work, hard day. I don't get my chocolate milk.
I just thought it was hilarious addition, so I made it to where it was
That's
like
real
most
funny.
vile.
Yeah. Okay.
John Lambton's father, Lord Lambton, makes a deal with the creature. The village has to make a daily tribute of the milk of 9 good cows.
What is with this dragon and milk?
Wow, it's really.
I don't see that in like any other dragon legend. This one, I don't know.
He loves chocolate milk, I'm telling you. It'll
I don't
drive you
blame
to
him.
do crazy things.
Give me some chalky milk and I'm a happy dairy.
Any attempt of killing the creature is in vain. Any villagers brave enough to fight the beast is quickly killed. The worm will reattach any chunks sliced out of it and will even wield trees in its coils and swing them around like a mace. That's amazing. Yeah.
That's a good D&D encounter right there.
That is scary. John returns from the Crusades and is determined to kill the dragon. He seeks advice from a wise witch who instructs him to cover his armor in spearheads and fight the beast in the river Wear. After killing the worm, John must then kill the first living thing he sees, or his family will be cursed for 9 generations and will all die early deaths. Well, and back in that day, 9 generations goes
Yeah.
by pretty quick.
It just
I
seems
think.
like such an arbitrary condition. It's like, what's the point of that condition? Oh, you can kill the dragon, but then you must kill the first thing. Where are these rules coming from?
Does that include an ant on the ground? What is that? John instructs his father to release a hunting dog at the sound of John's horn so that John may kill the dog to avoid the curse. Poor dog.
That's what I was gonna say.
Why not a
luck,
pig
though,
or
to be
something?
like a puppy dog come out and be like, no, please, go. I didn't see you.
Well,
I didn't see
obviously,
you. Go.
You can't kill the cows because they produce the milk.
Right.
Right. Like a rat? Like, surely there's rats
Yeah, you had a
around.
good point. Why didn't they just bring like an ant? And
Yeah,
just, like,
I don't know. Anyways, John then fights the dragon, protected from its coils by his spiky armor, and the rivers washing away the chunks of the beast before the worm can reattach them. Eventually, John slays the dragon and sounds his horn. Lord Lambton, in his excitement, forgot his son's instructions and ran to meet the victorious John. John is distraught that his father is the first living thing he sees. John cannot kill his father, so he dispatches the dog anyway in an attempt to avoid the curse, but to no avail. It did seem like the curse was real, as the next 3 generations died of unnatural causes, but the curse did not continue until the 9th generation.
Once again, poor puppy. Got killed for nothing. Yeah, like according to the legend, the first 3 generations after him died like weird deaths, like
That's so strange.
like dying in a carriage ride.
No, Dad, turn around. Go get my
And then,
wife.
but then like the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th have all been fine. They were all fine. But and then the 9th generation, I guess, is like, oh yeah, the curse exists, so he died an unnatural death.
I mean, maybe it's because like he kind of half fulfilled it, that it was almost half cursed.
Yeah, maybe. He's like, if I kill the second,
If you
thing
believe
I
in that
see,
sort of thing, anyways.
then I can avoid half the curse.
Yeah. So,
But
that's
I
crazy.
just love it's like, where did that rule? When you kill the dragon, you have to do this or this will happen. It's like, why?
Ancient prophecy.
Yeah. It has been foretold.
Yeah.
But as you can see on the slideshow, here's him in his spiky spearhead armor fighting the lantern worm with the.
Definitely
his
one
head.
of the creepiest looking ones so
yeah,
far.
this particular art piece, yeah, it's with the 2 limbs and the long worm like.
For just being a
snake-like
farmer,
body.
he looks pretty badass.
Well, he fought in the Crusades for a long time.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Continuing with serpentine. Yes. Continuing with serpentine dragons. Next we have the Chinese dragon, also known as Long, as we discussed earlier.
Nice.
Long is the Chinese word for dragon, although the English word long is a good description of them. So I'm going to refer to them as long boys. Han Dynasty scholar Wang Fu, is that right?
Sounds right.
Wang. He provides the following description. People paint the long boy shape with a horse's head and a snake's tail. Further, there are expressions as 3 joints and 9 resemblances of the long boy, to wit, from head to shoulder, from shoulder to breast, from breast to tail. These are the joints. As to the 9 resemblances, they are the following. His antlers resemble those of a stag. His head, that of a camel. His eyes, that of a demon. His neck, that of a snake. His belly, that of a clam. His scales, those of a carp. His claws, those of an eagle. His soles, those of a tiger. His ears, those of a cow. Upon his head he has a thing like a broad eminence, called, I believe it's Kaimu? It's
Sounds right.
Chimu. If a dragon has no Kaimu, he cannot ascend to the sky. So the Kaimu referred to is, or the flaming pearls, a Dragon Ball, if you will. So if you ever seen Dragon Ball Z, you know what a Chinese dragon looks like. I'm sure you know what one looks like anyway. But
I just imagine that parade dragon.
But the Kaimu are flaming pearls, and some believe this gives the dragon the mystical power of flight, despite not having wings. If you look over on the, I have it pointed to in that second picture.
That's what the parade dragon over in China is, right? Is one of them?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I actually I was over there during Chinese New Year, and
That would
I saw depictions
awesome.
of this.
Lots of them.
Yeah, these things are everywhere for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge part of Chinese culture. I'll get to that in just a second. Long boys are symbols of wisdom, power, and luck in Chinese culture. Very different than the devilish depiction of dragons in Europe, as you heard from the story before. He referred to as the devil himself.
Right. Yeah.
Great people are often compared to long boys in this culture, while incapable people are compared to lower creatures such as rats or worms. Long boys have been used as a symbol of imperial power and representing the emperor himself. The long boy to this day is still a state symbol. These dragons control the weather, rivers, lakes, and the sea. They're very water-based. They are seen as protectors from evil spirits, and many Chinese deities are long boys. According to one such legend, the legend of the carp, a carp able to leap over the mythical Dragon Gate will become a dragon. Many have sought out the true location of this gate, but none have found it. Several waterfalls in China are believed to be the location of the Dragon Gate. This legend is an allegory for the drive and effort needed to overcome obstacles. So if you are familiar with Pokemon and the Magikarp line, it's actually based on this legend.
Really?
He starts out as a fish, a carp actually, and
Wow.
then he becomes a dragon, Gyarados.
That makes a lot of sense now. That's insane.
That's one of the things I really love about Pokemon, is because there's a story behind almost every line.
Nice subtleties. That's really good.
Almost every folklore we've talked about somehow wraps up in Pokemon.
Oh yeah, they base a lot of Pokemon on folklore.
One way or another.
So that's it for Long Boys. Moving on to our honorable mention. Let me get to the next slide here. All right, so our honorable mention is the Pig Dragon, which is actually more of an artifact than an actual creature. It was a small jade figurine that served as a burial item in Chinese culture. Burial item being, in a lot of cultures, they will bury items with the person of importance because they think they'll need them in the afterlife. The Pig Dragon had a pig head on a serpentine body. It was thought to be an early depiction of Long Boys. As you can see, he's got the snout right there. It's got the eye and the ear.
That just looks like a rib slug.
Yeah, it's pretty much it is. They think it's a very early depiction of the Chinese dragon, but like I said, it's more of an artifact than anything else. Another honorable mention is the Imugi. Let me go and get to that slide.
So is that kind of like sorry, that last thing.
The
was
pig
that
dragon?
Yeah, the pig dragon. Was that kind of like like when you see the face of something in a rock? You just assume.
Well, they carved that. And it might have been just like a pig symbol, and they were just like...
Oh, that was carved?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No,
yeah. I thought they found it that way.
They didn't
and
find it that
okay.
way. They carved jade that way, and it was probably like they were trying to carve a pig, and then it like gave up after the head, so we're like,
yeah,
snake body it is.
Yeah.
But it's kind of got a similar depiction of the Chinese dragon. That's why they think it's an early depiction, because it's got that like long head with the ears and the long snout on it.
Right.
Then
I was thinking they found it that
the serpent
way.
body. That would be so cool though.
Yeah.
But another honorable mention is the Imugi. Imugis are from Korean folk mythology and are basically giant snakes that are lesser or proto-dragons who aspire to become a full-fledged dragon, which is a Korean dragon is basically the same as a Chinese dragon. One variation of the myth states that the Imugi must survive 1,000 years in order to become a true dragon. And that's it for those guys. Gary, why don't you move on to our next one?
All right, now we shall talk about the Hydra. I love the Hydra. It's a very well-known dragon-like beast from ancient Greece. This is almost breaking the rules since the Hydra seems to be unique to Greek mythology, although a seven-headed serpent does show up in Sumerian myth as a creature slain by the Mesopotamian god Ninurta. Many headed serpents appear in other cultures as well. An example being the Naga.
So that's just basically my justification for putting the Hydra on this list.
Is it Naga or Naga?
Naga.
That's
Naga.
yeah. The Hydra was a many-headed serpent raised by the goddess Hera to slay Heracles. Heracles?
A lot of people
it's
pronounce
Heracles.
it Hercules.
Ah.
But actually the real name is Heracles.
Heracles.
Yeah, so I have it stated as Heracles throughout. You can pronounce it however you want.
Okay, to
Just
slay Heracles.
Let people know that we are talking about the Hercules here.
Okay. It was raised by the goddess Hera to slay Heracles, the half-god son of Zeus. The Hydra dwelt in the swamps near Lake Lerna, and Heracles had to cover his mouth to protect himself from the poisonous fumes emitted by the beast. Can I say Hercules? Can I just say
You
Hercules?
can say Hercules, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's the same thing.
It is the same thing.
Coming upon the creature, Hercules decapitated the Hydra, but two more heads grew back from the serpent's neck. Hercules' nephew, Lolos.
I think it's Iolaus.
Oh, is it an I?
Yeah, it's a capital I.
Iolaus, okay. Iolaus came up with the idea to use a firebrand to cauterize the neck stumps after each decapitation so that the heads might not grow back. It's not a bad idea.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Another version states that Hercules plunged his sword into the neck stumps so the Hydra's own venom would burn each stump and prevent the heads from regenerating.
So either way, the heads aren't
It's just
regenerating.
burning,
It just
yeah.
depends on whose idea it was.
Right. Hera saw that her monster was losing, so she sent a giant crab to help.
As you do.
Yeah, but Hercules simply stomped the giant crab with his mighty foot.
His mighty foot.
After her beasts were slain, Hera turned them into constellations. So she's just like, you know what the hell? Go be stars.
What am I going to do with these bodies?
Go be stars. The Hydra and the more well-known Cancer constellations originate from this story.
So if your zodiac sign is Cancer, you're basically just got stomped by Hercules with one stomp of his mighty foot.
It's funny. Normally you lead with the crab and then go in with like the crazy creature to finish them off.
No, I think it's funny because Cancer is like one of the more well-known constellations, but it's literally just a crab. And then meanwhile, we also have a constellation called the Hydra, which I actually should have included the Hydra constellation, a picture of it on the slideshow. But I did include the one from Disney's Hercules, so that's the important one. Uh-huh. And then also an actual depiction on an ancient pottery.
So it's kind of like Medusa's head without the head.
Yeah, it's basically just a giant snake with a lot of snake heads coming off of it. The Disney version, you can see, it's definitely a lot more dragon-like.
I like it.
It's definitely one of my favorite dragon-like creatures.
Oh, yeah, it's very, very unique.
It's land and water based.
Yeah, I think throughout cultures, when people say snakes, they automatically assign the attribute of water to them, although that's not necessarily the case. The Hydra's more... He's like a swamp dweller, and as you can see from the story, he's very poisonous.
Slightly amphibious.
Yeah. So, yeah, he is attributed to water a little bit. So
no relation to the bad guys on G.I. Joe? That's Hydra, right?
That is Hydra.
Oh, that's Cobra.
It's Cobra. But there's Hydra.
No, Hydra is from Marvel. Yeah,
Marvel.
That's right.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
I forgot
Hydra's Marvel.
for a second too.
My bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I failed.
But yeah, cut off one head, two more shall take its place. Hail Hydra!
What if you cut it right at the stomach there, and then what happens?
There you go.
That's the cheat code.
Yeah, that's the cheat code, exactly.
Now we move on to the other many-headed serpent, the Naga. Although the Naga can take various other forms in different Asian cultures, they all have aspects of a serpent or a dragon. In Hinduism, Nagas appear as fully human, fully serpent, or a hybrid of the two. In Buddhism, the Naga
is it? It's just Buddhism.
It's not Buddhism?
No, Buddhism is when you worship.
That's a whole different thing. People go to clubs for Buddhism.
You're right. I forgot that. For some reason, I was getting my
Gary's
religion mixed up.
So.
Yes. I've been practicing Buddhism for about 7 years now.
What kind of dragon do you have in Buddhism, Gary? Wait, I don't want to know.
No, I've lost my damn spot.
Worth it.
Oh, here it is. Okay.
Wearing short shorts is a form of Buddhism.
Yeah, there you go. In Hinduism, Nagas appear as fully human, fully serpent, or a hybrid of the two. In Buddhism, the Naga appears as a cobra with a single head or many heads, and is sometimes depicted as a human with a snake or dragon extending over the head. In Malaysia, the Naga is a water dragon with many heads. In Cambodia, the Naga is a seven-headed serpent, most often depicted in guardian statues. In Indonesia, the Naga is a giant crowned magical serpent that is sometimes depicted with wings. In Laos and Thailand, Naga are serpent-like water dragons that inhabit the Mekong River and are responsible for Naga fireballs, reddish-orange ghost lights that appear above the river.
And if you listen to the Ghost Light minisode, I did mention Naga fireballs. But as you can see, I have the main depictions of the Naga on screen. We got our serpent-human hybrids over on that side. We got the big water dragons in the middle. And then we have this one over here where it's a human, but with like dragons extending over the head.
I'm not impressed by this one.
So you're saying somewhere in Thailand there's a river that just has random reddish-orange ghost lights?
Yes.
That appear above the river?
But they were just like ghost lights, like nobody knew why they were there, and that's actually what happens with a lot of ghost lights.
Do you know if you can go up and like touch these things? Or?
No, I don't think. Well,
it's crazy.
That's the thing about ghost lights. You should listen to Ghost Lights Mini, so it's really good.
Yeah, apparently.
There are a lot of lights that even science was like, we have no idea why. Like even there's even this one light in North Carolina that they study the lights for like over 100 years, and even to this day they're like, we have no idea what causes them. But recently Thailand's tourism department was like, oh yeah, these lights are totally created by Naga. You should come here and check it out.
Yeah.
So they've only been attributed to Naga as of recently, but I thought it was interesting that they associated a myth with an actual occurrence. So that's
Some they
something
can't
that-
even, science can't even
look.
explain, which is insane.
God, you almost spoiled it for us.
Yeah. Whew. I switched to the next slide accidentally. I was like, oh no, don't look. Keep it a surprise.
I'm going to read my last sentence. Naga are very similar to dragons in other Asian cultures in that they are viewed as semi-divine, or at least supernatural creatures that are often benevolent.
Once again, very different from the European depiction of them.
Yeah. Keeping up with our serpent theme, next up is the feathered serpent in Mesoamerican cultures. This reptilian creature was depicted in many stone carvings and artwork as a snake with feathers covering its body and sometimes had legs. This being was very significant in the religions of the Aztecs and the Maya, the most prominent of these being the Aztec plumed serpent god, Quetzalcoatl.
Yes! Yes!
I believe it's
I am so happy
I believe it's-
that you stumbled
I
over
screwed that. That's a
Yeah.
hard
it's
one.
Quetzalcoatl.
Quetz-
Quetzalcoatl.
In
Quetzal-
Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl is what it is. But
Quetzalcoatl.
yeah.
Excellent.
If he would have nailed that one, I would have been like, you know what, I'm done. You don't even need me
You know,
here.
and I've read over that word a few times in the past, but that's a hard one for sure. An Aztec text describes this deity. He was the wind, the guide, and the road sweeper of the rain gods, of the masters of the water, of those who brought rain. And when the wind rose, when the dust rumbled, and it cracked, and there was a great din, it became dark, and the wind blew in many directions, and it thundered. Then it was said, Quetzalcoatl is wrathful.
So he was a very important deity, brought the rain and controlled the weather basically, and so obviously very important to like crops and just about everything. So he was definitely the main deity of the Aztecs.
I just wonder if, with civilizations being this old and, dragons being depicted in ancient Chinese civilizations and ancient Mayan and Aztec civilizations, if there was some sort of crossover, if they developed independently.
Yeah, so there's actually a couple theories on this. The dragon is an example of what's referred to in folklore as archetypes, which means it's a universal concept. So
It's crazy that can be developed
There's
over.
a bunch of different explanations for this, but one being that snakes were everywhere at this time, and obviously we've had a very intriguing relationship with snakes in every culture, and they were viewed as either benevolent or you can pick out any culture, and they have some sort of something to do with snakes mentioned in them.
Just shows you how similar everyone is.
Yeah, another
across the
archetype
world.
being basically Bigfoot, of the archetype of there's a wild man that living in the woods. He's like a feral human. You can find that in every
That's
culture as
fascinating,
well.
really.
Oh yeah, that's why I basically started this podcast, because of stuff like that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Honorable mention for feathered serpent comes from Egypt, where winged snakes are depicted as hieroglyphs, some depictions even giving them legs. Greek historian Herodotus made mention of the winged serpents in his work, saying that they fly from Arabia to Egypt in the spring, but they are caught and killed by Egypt's ibis birds. A creature known as the horned serpent appeared in many Native American mythologies. The Cherokee version of this reptile is called the Uktena. Anthropologist James Mooney describes the beast. Those who know say the Uktena is a great snake, as large around as a tree trunk, with horns on its head and a bright blazing crest like a diamond on its forehead, and scales glowing like sparks of fire. It has rings or spots of color along its whole length and cannot be wounded except by shooting in the seventh spot from the head, because under this spot are its heart and its life. The blazing diamond is called Ulunsuti, and he who can win it may become the greatest wonder worker of the tribe. But it is worth a man's life to attempt it, for whoever is seen by the Uktena is so dazed by the bright light that he runs toward the snake instead of trying to escape. As if there were not enough, the breath of the Uktena is so pestilential. Oh, sorry, what?
I think it's pestilential. I didn't write this part. So,
Yeah, that is a difficult word.
which means like pestilence.
Right.
Yeah.
So scary that that no living creature can survive should they inhale the tiniest bit of the foul air expelled by the Uktena. Even to see the Uktena asleep is death, not to the hunter himself, but to his family.
So what I found interesting about this Utina, the horned sherbet, which you can see right here, I believe that top right one is the depiction of the Utina itself, is that obviously a long snake-like body, it's a serpent, but it also has horns. And what I found most interesting is the blazing diamond in its forehead, which is also magical. So it's actually very similar to the Chinese dragon's Kaimu, because we got a flaming pearl
Right.
that's important to the dragon, and now we have a blazing diamond that's important to this serpent. So I just thought that was super interesting. More like we were talking about earlier, more parallels that can be drawn.
The artist of that picture did a fantastic job.
That's an actual, that was pulled from an actual, I can't remember the tribe, but carving, where you can see the horned snakes right there, and then that one's a cave drawing of it.
An honorable mention for Native American dragons is the Piasa bird, which was a painting on a mural that closely resembled a European dragon. It featured a horned head, red eyes, a beard, wings, a four-legged body covered in scales, and a long serpentine tail. The original painting no longer exists, and is thought that the monstrous art served as a warning to strangers that they were entering the territory of the Kohukian tribe.
So, I don't know why, but I forgot to include the picture of this one, of the Piazza bird, but let me pull it up real quick, because it's actually pretty interesting. Because it is very similar to the European dragon.
I've never even heard of it until now.
Yeah, well, it's what it is. It's just a mural. It's not really like... So that's the recreation of the mural, as you can see. But this is actually... I believe this depiction was all that it was just a depiction. It just served as a warning. I don't think they actually believed that this creature existed. But as this kind of calls back to that anthropologist theory that the dragon mythos came from just it being a chimera of a bunch of different creatures. So, because you can see the eagle talons on this one, and the wings and the scales, and you can see the antlers on its head, and the fierce teeth.
I wonder why the differentiation in wings, like.
Yeah, because it's got like the top of the wings is just all scaly, but the under of it is like this bright red. And I'm not sure if that was on the original mural or if this is just the.
It looks like like one of the wings is pure scales and another wing is like almost meat.
Well, I think it's the top of the wing and the underside of the wing is what I think it is.
But then look at like this other like illustration there. It looks like two separate wings.
Yeah. It's
I don't know.
Definitely interesting.
Who knows?
But like I said, there wasn't really any mention of this within their mythology. It was just this one painting.
It's just some random guy that drew up a scary image and was like, "Stay off my lawn."
Yeah, basically, just stay off my lawn. It was like this was like a warning to that, or maybe he painted it because he actually saw it.
He kept it as a pet.
Yeah, kept it as a pet. That would be the worst pet of all time. But
you go broke feeding that thing.
Yeah, that's why it was an honorable mention. So next we move on to a very interesting one. We go back to Europe for our next entry. The basilisk. The basilisk is a serpent-like reptile, surprising I know, that is alleged to be born from the egg of a snake or a toad that has been incubated by a cockerel, aka a rooster. Kind of a weird origin for it. It has been described as the king of all serpents, and other snakes fear the creature. Early depictions gave it a serpentine body with 2 legs and a tail, similar to the lindworm, but with legs instead of arms. Due to being incubated by a rooster, later depictions made it seem more like a weird chicken-serpent hybrid. So as you can see right here, I made a little Venn diagram because we're next going to go to the cockatrice, which is basically the same thing as basilisk. So the basilisk is here on the left side. You can see it's got a really weird armadillo-like body with a serpent tail. And
I'd freak out if I saw that in real
chicken
life.
head. And in this drawing, for whatever reason, it has like a ton of legs. And but it's often described as being crowned, which can mean it has horns or as like a rooster has the little comb on the head. But as you can see in this illustration, they took the meaning crowned literally and literally put a crown on its head.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the funniest pictures I've ever seen in my life. So if you look up basilisk, you'll find it. The similar hybrid to this is known as a cockatrice. Cockatrice is essentially a dragon with a chicken's head. Its egg process is the opposite of a basilisk. It's the result of an egg that's been laid by a cockerel and incubated by a toad or a snake. It should be pointed out that a cockerel is a rooster, which is a male chicken. So I don't know how the egg laying process works with that. But I mean, we're talking about a dragon chicken, so I don't know. So on the left-hand side is the depiction of the cockatrice.
Yeah, if that thing laid an egg on top of a triangle roof,
Yeah.
which direction would he fall?
So the basilisk and the cockatrice are extremely similar creatures, as you can see, and the terms are often interchangeable. The main difference I could find is that the cockatrice is winged, while the basilisk is not. Both are said to be venomous and or fire-breathing, and both have a hypnotic or deadly glance, as described in Shakespeare's play, Richard III. O ill-dispersing wind of misery! O my accursed womb, the bed of death! A cockatrice hast thou hatched to the world, whose unavoided eye is murderous. Did you guys enjoy my
Those
I was transported back in time to another age.
Thank you. I took a drama class in high school
It shows.
and in college, actually. The natural enemy of these chicken dragons are said to have been the weasel or mongoose. The weasel is the only creature immune to the death stare of the dragon, and the weasel is said to be able to dispatch the beast with its odor. So the picture in the middle is titled "The Basilisk and the Weasel."
picture on the left's about to drive me nuts. I imagine it sounded like bull. Bull.
Imagine if that thing was fighting Harry Potter instead.
Right, yeah. And Harry Potter the Basilisk is just a big old snake, whereas this is much more. This is
A
better.
half chicken, half
This is literally
dragon
a chicken
bird
dragon,
thing.
and I love it. So
It's almost like a first graders, the way they see chickens.
hey, chickens can be freaking mean, dude.
That's so
no,
true.
that's what I'm saying. I see a
When I
lot
was
of
a-
children that are
yeah.
scared of chickens.
When
and
I
this
was a
is-
kid, we went to a petting zoo, and I picked up one of the little baby chicks, and Mama did not like that and chased me all around the pen.
They freak
until I
out.
put it down. Yeah, they can be mean. So Wikipedia has a great summary on the origin of this chicken dragon. Some have speculated that accounts and description of cobras may have given rise to the legend of the basilisk. Cobras can maintain an upright posture and, as with many snakes in overlapping territories, are often killed by mongooses. Is it mongooses or mongoose?
I don't know,
I
actually.
think it's
mongoose.
I think it's technically mongooses, but mongooses
Mongooses
is better.
It's
more
funny.
The king cobra, or hamadryad, has a crown-like symbol on its head. Well, kind of like our basilisk. Several species of spitting cobras can incapacitate from a distance by spitting venom, most often to the prey's eyes, and may have well been confused with the hamadryad to their similar appearance. So that's kind of like where the poison breathing came from in the dragon mythos, and maybe even the fire breathing.
Wow.
Because I assume it would burn if it got in your eye. The Egyptian cobra lives in the desert and was employed as a symbol of royalty, which is also interesting because in Egyptian culture, snakes were seen as royalty, more benevolent, kind of like in Asian culture.
Sure.
So other versions of the basilisk slash cockatrice is the gi leong, which I believe is how we pronounce it, which in Korean literally means chicken dragon, and who often serve by pulling the chariots of legendary mythological creatures. Now, if I were to pick one creature to pull my almighty chariot in, if I were like a god, chicken dragon would definitely be in the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen how fast chicken goes? Like, they run pretty quick.
But yeah, I wouldn't imagine a chicken dragon as a pack animal, but it's just too cool not to think about. I mean, look at that, Gary. Wouldn't you want one of those things to pull you in a chariot?
I wouldn't mind.
It'd be cool,
I'd like to put a saddle on one.
Chile has its own version of the myth, brought over by Spanish conquistadors. This variation has the most fun name of all: Basilisco Chilote. It just sounds like a hot sauce, doesn't it?
That's what I was thinking.
I know. So here's the little depiction on the left-hand side. Let's see. It is a serpent that has the head of a rooster and will burrow under people's houses. It will then feed on the phlegm and saliva of its victims, who eventually will die of dehydration.
That's a way to wake you up in the morning.
That's a very interesting diet.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I've looked up a lot of folklore stuff, and never once have I come across that drinks your saliva. I don't know, maybe I came across it a little bit in like the weird witch bird creatures things that we did with Jeremy. Do you remember that, Gary? Gary's texting right now instead of paying
Sorry.
attention to the podcast.
Yeah, sorry.
Like I said, I'm not even going to repeat it, but it's just too much to go over. So, to get rid of the dragon, you must kill the egg that the basilisco chilote is in, and the chicken that laid it, to prevent it from being born. The only way to kill this serpent after it hatches is to burn down the house it lives under. So basically, if you find a basilisco chilote under your house, you basically just got to burn down your house.
I mean, that's.
But I love that goofy. I love that goofy statue under it.
It's not terrifying.
I don't think it's supposed to be terrifying. I think it's just going to kill you anyway.
I mean, if I saw that in my house, I'd be terrified for sure.
Right? I mean, it's not terrifying in the traditional sense, but if you saw one in real life, you would be scared.
Yeah, you're right.
Because you're like, what the hell is
Just
that?
wake up, see it laying on my pillow,
drinking your saliva.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be the perfect source. Just be like sipping on the pillow.
Do you think that the little hose that dentists use to eat all your saliva, do you think that's actually a basilisco chilote in disguise? Dun, dun, dun. That's the way it has to survive. It has to be employed by
all
dentists.
dentist office have one of these.
It's in that little drawer.
Yeah. They feed the creatures after close. That's where all the saliva
That's why
goes.
everybody thinks dentists are evil. Well, that and a dentist invented the electric chair. Anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then finally, the other origin of the basilisco chilote is the colo colo. Also a fun name to say. Man, Chile just has some fun. I should do a whole episode on Chilean culture just so I can say
Might as well,
names.
yeah. Have a blast.
The colo colo is a feathered serpent rat thing that is also born from a snake egg that has been incubated by a rooster. Very similar to the basilisk or cockatrice. It is more rat-like than chicken-like, but this serpent also feeds on its victim's saliva and lives under houses. If the colo colo is detected, a shaman known as a machi must come and deal with the beast. Or, burn the house down, whichever one. But as you can see there, this depiction of the colo colo, it's like a feathered rat. Basically,
That would be more terrifying.
with like a snake-like tail and like a weird long serpent tongue. But
Yeah, that's way worse.
So basically, they just take anything and turn it into a serpent.
yeah, basically that's where a bunch of dragons come from, which may lend more credence to anthropologists. Basically, dragons are just chimeras or hybrids, if you will. Actually, a lot of cultures have chimera beasts of all kinds. We've been obsessed with them for whatever reason. But then again, if you were to describe a dragon, and to someone who didn't know what a dragon was, forget that. If you were to describe a dinosaur, say I have no idea what a dinosaur is, and you have to describe a T-Rex or a velociraptor to me, what would you say? You would say it has big claws, like that of a big cat. Yeah. You would say it has a long serpent-like tail, covered in scales.
I'd say it's a big lizard.
And it jumps really high.
Dragons may not actually be like a chimera. Maybe it was just the best way to describe them. They needed a reference to compare the dragon to. It's like, how would you describe a dragon with exactly those features? So who knows? Yeah. Maybe dragons were real. Probably not. But
yeah, probably not.
And now we come to what is probably the weirdest entry on our list.
Yes, even more weird than the basilisco chilote.
The terrifying tatzelworm.
I
want to see what this looks like.
A little depiction of the tatzelworm. It's actually, I think it's pronounced tatzelworm, which is even more fun to say.
Is that what was in the bottom of my drink one time?
Oh.
So why don't you describe the tatzelworm for us, Jeremy? I mean, not Jeremy, Gary.
Oh my God.
I am so sorry.
So how am I supposed to say it with like a German accent?
Tatzelworm.
Tatzelworm?
Tatzelworm. Have fun with it.
The tatzelworm makes its home in the European Alps, and it is a creepy chimera.
Chimera.
That's a chimera.
Chimera.
Whatever.
The alliteration.
Chimera.
I did it on purpose.
With the back half of a snake and the front half of a cat.
Kitty.
Covered in scales, of course. With a venomous bite and acid blood. The tatzelworm first modern victim was Hans Fuchs. Hans Fuchs.
Yes, Fuchs. It's spelled Fuchs, and it's definitely pronounced Fuchs.
Fuchs.
There is no other way to pronounce it. Don't even try.
Hans gives no Fuchs. Hans was walking the Swiss mountainside one fateful day when he was confronted by two of the bizarre beasties.
Or besties.
I was going to say besties.
We don't know the nature of their relationship.
Terrified, he ran all the way home and died of a heart attack. That's unfortunate. But before dying out of fright, Fuchs described the creature as between 5 and 7 feet in length, with a winding serpent-like body, 2 clawed front legs, and a cat-like head.
Yeah. Interesting.
Kind of looks like the black cat, the firecracker.
Yeah, that depiction on the left really does.
And that's why it just shows the head on the firecrackers, because the rest of it is like a serpent snake.
Yeah.
All right.
So Tatzelwurm firecrackers. Actually, that'd be cool.
The legend of the Tatzelwurm has lived on to this day as a member of Hans' family. How am I supposed to read this?
Sorry, I messed up that sentence. As a member of Hans' family, immortalized the creature by painting its likeness. Actually, I didn't mess up on it. You did.
I did. As a member of Hans' family, immortalized the creature. Whatever. You heard Darren. Sightings of this strange serpent are as recent as 2009, but authorities along the Swiss-Italian border chalked these reports up to escaped pet lizards.
So I thought it was interesting that people, to this day, even as soon as 10 years ago, and there may have been other reports even more recently, are still reporting seeing this thing in the Alps. On the foothills of the Alps.
How can you mistake that?
I was about to say, which is the weirdest thing, because you can't just see a snake and be like, yep, that has the front half of a cat.
I don't know, man. I think it's at high altitude getting to them, seeing something like this.
Maybe if there aren't very many and they're only living in the foothills of the Alps, maybe. Another name for it's called the Alps dragon, which is pretty cool. But this is, as you can see, it's not very dragon-like. It's more just like this weird cat snake.
Yeah, it's just a
not
snake
like
with a cat's head.
Yeah, it's literally a cat, and then it's got the back half. Of
I think that picture with it on top of the pig, it's doing that. What did you call it? Kneading. It's kneading. It's
making biscuits or whatever. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's making biscuits on the pig's head. It's about ready to lay down,
and also eating it.
Is it eating it? Oh yeah, I guess it is in his mouth. Yeah, you're right. Okay, my bad.
Guy's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I mean, I like bacon too.
I know you can't see these pictures, but like I said, I might just post the PowerPoint on the website.
I think you should.
Or on our Facebook page.
The closest thing to a real creature resembling this draconic beast is This draconic beast is the siren. A kind of salamander with a wide head, feathery external gills, with 2 front legs, and the back half tapering into a serpentine body. While these amphibians do seem like the real-life inspiration for the lindworm and the Tatzelwurm, sirens only live in North America, and it is doubtful that any would find themselves in the foothills of the Alps. That and the siren is decidedly uncat-like.
Yeah, so here's the siren. It's just basically a salamander, but it's got the 2 front legs.
It's like a tadpole. It's
got like a little wide head, and then it's got those feathery gills that maybe could be construed as cat ears. I don't know, but like I said, it's nowhere near where this thing is, so I don't think a salamander could live.
Where have
I
seen that? I've seen that in a cartoon.
Well, there's another similar salamander called the axolotl.
I've definitely seen that before.
Yeah,
I have too.
Yeah, if you look at a picture of a siren salamander, you'll be like,
I'm thinking of a cartoon. I've seen it in a cartoon. I can't remember which one.
It's definitely cute enough to be in a cartoon.
Axolotl.
It is adorable.
So here's the thing that's most often keep as pets, and they're very similar, except they got.
I've seen definitely this before.
Yeah,
those are adorable. I'm not gonna lie. Adorable.
All right, so that's all we have for the dragons. I don't know if you guys noticed, but that was a lot of them. We briefly mentioned, I should say, the European dragon, and then we talked about the wyvern, mushusu, gwyver, drake, lindworm, Chinese dragon, pig dragon, imugi, hydra, naga, feathered serpent, horned serpent, winged serpent, basilisk, cockatrice, basilisco chelote, kolokolo, and the Tatzelwurm. Even then, I'm sure that we missed a lot more, and this list doesn't even include any dragon gods either, so there's even dragon deities that all have their different variations on this. So the closest thing to a dragon that we know of today that actually exists is the Komodo dragon. It's in the name.
Which looks sad compared to...
Yeah, and it's very similar to a drake. It's like big lizard, snake-like body. It's got the scales, and it even has a poisonous bite because its saliva is so...
What kind of dragon was toothless?
He was a night fury. But as far as dragon terms speaking, he's just a regular dragon. Because he's got 4 legs, 2 wings, and he asked that because I on my slideshow I made a little gif of...
one of my favorite movies of all time,
so
actually. Yeah.
It's a great movie. Yeah, I've seen it at least 2 or 3 times.
It's one of my favorite animated films of all time.
They did a really good job with it. What do you guys think about all the dragon types we went through today?
Man, there's 80% of those I had no idea about.
I know, they're just so varied, but they're definitely less dragon-like and more serpent-like, but they're still considered dragons. Like I said, dragons and snakes were often...
I just like the standard movie dragon. The big old wings, the fire.
So
Big teeth, sharp teeth.
So the European dragon and the wyvern.
Yes.
Basically.
That's the... Yeah.
Yeah. Or the wyvern. Or the weaver.
I want to see all these types of dragons battle it out and see who wins.
Honestly, yeah. Who would win? I mean, I would have to give it to the European dragon because it's so big and bulky. It's like a tank.
I think the serpentine one could take it. The one that doesn't have wings. It's the
Chinese dragon?
The Chinese, yeah.
Yeah, the Chinese dragon.
It's basically magical.
Yeah, because whereas the European dragon is more biological, I guess.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Plus the Chinese dragons can be huge.
Viewed as a supernatural being.
And they can be massive.
Yeah, they can be massive. So, yeah, maybe
they can just swallow the other dragons.
Actually, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to give it to the Chinese dragon. Unless the European dragon takes out its Chimu, the Dragon Ball, that gives its magical powers.
That's true.
But you never know, the cockatrice.
The cockatrice, yeah.
Could come ahead.
It'd come in at the end. You know?
I would let it pull my chariot.
It'd be a kill stealer for sure. Just right at the end.
I wonder if it'd be good eating.
He would definitely be the guy who comes in behind and takes all the loot.
It'd be
a little chewy, for sure.
Yeah, would a cockatrice
gamey?
Would a cockatrice just taste like spicy chicken?
Put it in a crock pot though.
Yeah.
You know, cook it for a while.
Honestly, I think it would just be like spicy chicken. You like
that's true.
Chicken? I don't think they actually marinate. I think it's just cockatrice.
I think you're onto something here.
I think you'd see it
coming after you.
But you're right. It might
Long
be
John.
more chewy.
I think it'd be more of a Long John Silver's type thing, though.
Some hush puppies on the side there.
Sounds
I'd eat it.
Now I'm getting hungry. Also,
What?
before we wrap up, Gary, happy birthday, buddy. We were
Happy
recording
birthday
today
Thank you.
on his birthday.
Thank you.
This is my birthday present to him.
Thank you.
Because he gets to be on another episode of the podcast, which he is a co-host on already.
I'm getting so old.
How old are you today, Gary?
36.
Jesus.
I know, right?
Jesus.
You're basically my dad.
Am I as old as your dad?
No, not even close.
Wait, how old
I was like,
are you?
wait a minute. How old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay.
Okay.
My dad's 63.
When's your birthday?
December 12th, 92.
Okay, so you're older
the
than me.
90s, baby.
I'm the youngest one.
90s, babe.
Dude, you missed that. You were growing up during the best years of cartoons.
It's crazy because I love 80s music.
Music, but did you catch up? Like, because you were growing up in the 90s, therefore you didn't really you weren't really old enough to enjoy the 90s animation. You know, like the Ninja Turtles, Doug.
I watched Ninja Turtles.
Did you like the
And
90s
Doug.
Turtles?
Yeah.
Doug and Rugrats and
I watched Rugrats. Yeah. I watched a lot of the older stuff for
Gary
sure.
loves the Ninja Turtles.
I just watched a lot of TV, so I watched a little bit of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But
now on Netflix is Rocko's Modern Life, the movie.
Oh wow, that's trippy.
Yeah.
That's
I didn't really ever like Rocko's Modern Life.
Did you not like
why.
Rocko's?
I watched it when I was a kid.
You probably weren't allowed to watch it.
I did watch it though. I don't remember where, but I did watch it.
All right, so let's wrap this up.
Let's do it.
As always, I'm going to say please rate and review us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or whatever else will let you leave a review, and including leaving a Facebook recommendation on our page.
I know we said this earlier, but I just want to emphasize
Right, yeah.
It's very important.
If you don't, they will send a chimera after you.
Yeah.
Or maybe even a Aslisko. Maybe I'll keep that for myself, but Cameron, now you have to rate us on iTunes now.
Fair enough.
Yes. And please follow us on social media. We'd love to hear from you guys. We're not very active on that. We try to. We're a little active. We
let you know when there's new episodes.
Yeah, we let you know. It's just there's really not a whole lot of.
Well, if you're welcome to post on the page and we'll comment.
Right.
We'll do whatever.
We give the page the activity that it needs for the amount of traffic that goes through it.
Yeah.
And of course, we'd always love to hear from you guys. So if you listen, start a conversation on our Facebook page. That'd be great. We're also on Twitter. You can check our episodes out on YouTube. You can also listen to us on Spotify and iHeartRadio. And hopefully you can find us on Pandora soon.
Yeah, Pandora's doing podcasts now.
That's because Sirius XM bought them out.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense because, I mean, the Pandora application for it was really weird. It's like, how many downloads do you have? It's like, no one else asked me this question.
Yeah.
But we are now on iHeartRadio. That is a recent thing.
90.
And hopefully, And hopefully soon we'll actually
You're so hip.
We're almost up to 3,000 downloads now, guys.
Really?
Yeah. I bet with
That's
this
awesome.
episode we will be pretty soon.
Nice.
Hopefully we'll be on Pandora soon. This episode is brought to you by our Patreon supporters and of course D&D Adventures for Kids.
Heck yeah.
If you'd like to support us in that way, you can go to patreon.com/Snipe Hunt, and for as little as $1 a month, you can get access to topic voting and our blooper reel episodes. Donating to the show helps us out with hosting fees. I pay a monthly fee to keep this on air. That's basically what that is.
I help.
Yeah, Gary does help. So does Jeremy. Thank you, Jeremy. If you have a topic suggestion, a question, comment, criticism, or if you have a story that you'd like us to share on our Encounter series, which we desperately need because we haven't done an Encounter series in a while, please contact us on social media or email us at snipehuntpodcast@gmail.com. Also, if we missed any dragon variations, please let us know and tell us what your favorite dragon is. I don't think I have one right now, but I'll get back to that. There's just so many.
And thank you, Cameron.
Yes, Cameron, thank you so much.
Pleasure
for coming
to be
up on the
here.
show.
It was a lot of fun.
Little did I know how qualified you were to be on.
That's
here.
what I'm saying. We're
Being
gonna
in Chinese.
You better.
Literally, in China, they called you Big Dragon.
We're opening
Yeah.
up. We're opening
That's
up a
true.
seat at this table for you.
I appreciate it. I'd be happy to come back anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. And then, of course, D&D Adventures for Kids. Like I said, I play D&D with Cameron all the time. Great adventures.
Yeah, check it out, dndadventuresforkids.com.
Or on the Facebook page, D&D Adventures for Kids.
That's right.
All right, so do you want to read us out?
Let's end her off. All right. So comes snow after fire, and even dragons have their endings. J.R.R. Tolkien. Dragons are a universal myth, and despite coming in all kinds of variations, they all share common traits. Is this simply because of the proposed origin being our instinctual fear? Or is it because they are based on real animals like snakes? Or is it something more? It seems that dragons have risen beyond simply folklore and have become legend. But we, at least, still consider them frightening folklore.
Once again, we want to thank you for listening to Snipe Hunt. Your listening has been noted and will be reported to the proper authorities. All audio used was done so under the protection of fair use.
Logo design is by Ethan Rothfuss. The music used for this episode was composed by Mayu and Nature World 1986. We'll continue to search for the unexplained and will hopefully see you on the next hunt.